Episode 7. Welcome. Our year-long partnership with CSCS. Sean Kearns, their CEO, is back in the studio. This episode is a deep dive into the CSCS Smart Check. So let's just look back over the last few series. It's been 30 years now of CSCS scheme. Earlier episodes, we looked at the history of CSCS, withdrawal of industry accreditation, introduced CSCS Smart Check, the software that enables electronic card checks on site. Today, we're going to take a lot deeper dive, more information on how Smart Check's transforming card checking across the industry, potential benefits for other sectors such as retrofit and maintenance, which we may have touched upon in the previous episode, and the data it generates could be helping to shape skills policy at a national level. Welcome again, Sean.
Thanks for having me back, Andy.
No problem. Right. First question. So anyone that's just tuned in, they found this online, new to the series, could you start by reminding us of what CSCS Smart Check is and also why it was developed?
Yeah, so Smart Check is effectively the border control system for sites and employers to check each card that's been issued. So in the same way as a border control system at the airport or ferry is checking passports of different origins, Smart Check checks the 37 different card types that are issued through the one checking tool.
Brilliant. So this is quite an interesting stat there. Smart Check can verify the records of over 2.2 million workers across whole of construction. What does that scale of coverage mean for the industry, and what value does it add for employers and workers?
So it means every card issued, whether valid or invalid, whether expired or current, can be read or placed for reading through a single process. You're not going off to somebody else's app, somebody else's web check to check whether the CSCS logo card is valid. And that was one of the complaints from industry themselves 10 years ago, to say we're fed up. We just can't understand and interpret whether that card is valid or not, because there is no single checking process. Hence the investment by all 37 alliance schemes in the one check process, and therefore it's the one logo, CSCS, and the one check.
Got it. Now I'm smiling because this is going back to what I did for years. So let's come away from the large construction projects, your big boys, your tier ones, etc. How do you see Smart Check supporting other parts? So we've got domestic, retrofit, renovation, suppose the same thing, maintenance, because we've had nothing but problems with cowboys over the last however many years, going into people's properties, bosh, taking the money and running. So how can you see this Smart Check supporting it? Because this could be, we looked at it last time, could be pretty groundbreaking.
Yeah. So the infrastructure that's in place for the commercials and the tier ones, tier twos, and the subbies, that infrastructure, whether using it via API, which the majority will be using, because it's quick and it's doing bulk checks, or the individual check via web check or app check, that functionality works in a smaller setting. So there is no adaptation required. It's deployable today for use today in any of those other settings you just said. What's not able, therefore, to be read is the fact that generally the guys and girls that are working domestically in refurb and in maintenance aren't holding a card. And that's the conversation we're having with those parts of government and those authority organisations under building safety and demonstrating competence within the construction industry. The card demonstrates the skills the individual's got, and therefore, if you are an employer, a small employer, and you don't currently have your workforce carded, it gives you a point of difference to actually get them carded, because you can check.
From my point of view, going back to when we were doing what we were doing, how does that homeowner differentiate you from that guy or girl that's come in that used to sell coffees or work in a carpet shop, which is what we saw?
And no team has a wholly qualified team. Generally, you have a mix. You have a mix of the guy learning on the tools, and therefore should be in training. And the best way to learn is through that doing, aligned to a training course, because then you're certified at the end of it, which helps you on your career path. So it's it's not compulsory at this point in time, but the inference now is to deploy the tool that's already there and not invent something else.
Well, if you're watching this, my view, having run a building company for a long, long time, only residential, we never did any commercial work, it's so hard getting work unless you've got a long-standing reputation. If you want to stand out from the rest, when you've got the homeowner sitting there looking at all your quotes and everything else, if you've got that card, that check, they're more likely to go with you. So I would jump on it. Even, as you say, it's not compulsory, it's not set in law, but I'll go for it wholeheartedly because it stands you out above the rest. So interesting industry benefit is obviously the potential insights from the data generated by Smart Check. How do you think this could be used to inform policy and raise levels of skills and workforce development for the industry?
Yeah, so if you think about it, I've said in multiple episodes, or you've asked me within multiple episodes that we've gone through, 2.2 to 2.3 million card holders. How many of those are in training? How many of those we hear all the time? We've got an aging workforce in construction. When we analyse the information of those individuals, those 2.3 million individuals holding a card, the age profile is actually pretty well distributed. So whilst our higher skilled individuals are in the 35, 40 plus category, as you would expect, because they've been doing the work for longer, we have in the carding infrastructure a reasonable even distribution across age ranges. So that's only because we've started to better analyse the information that we've got within card, and now we've got Smart Check as a one source of check. We can see last month just under 4 million reads through Smart Check. 1.5 million of those 2.3 million card holders have been read electronically through the system. Now, not every site at the moment checks through Smart Check. So therefore, we don't think that the 2.3 million people aren't deployed. We just can't see that they've been checked. And I guess the call to action to the employers is under BSR, using Smart Check gives you evidence that your individuals are competent and the card that's been issued to them is still valid. I mentioned a few minutes ago that we may have issued a card, but for some reason it may have been revoked. It may have been revoked because it was lost and somebody else is now using the card that has been found. It may have been revoked because, unfortunately, in our industry, we do get fraudulent applications.
We talked about this in the previous episode, didn't we?
We have, and therefore, by regularly checking the card is valid, and our recommendation is that should be at least weekly, that the card presented is valid, you know that the individual has that regular checked to their competence when they're on your site, whether domestically or commercially. So there's absolute benefits to the employer to know that their workforce remains skilled and competent.
Well, I think the big thing as well, at 600 million being thrown at the industry to upskill or train or apprentice, suddenly we can go, actually, we've got that girl over there learning that, we've got that guy over there, he's upskilling to do that.
And we can actually see geographically where the card was issued to. It may not be home, it may have been to a workplace or whatever, but we can now geographically understand what that spread is. So if we've got housing developments or nuclear sites, Sizewell C, that's going to need X thousand additional workforce that geographic area can't sustain, we can see it can't sustain itself, and therefore it's going to have to draw from a wider pool. Where is that skill set? We can now, from a data perspective, see and visualize that, and that's what we're trying to use with Skills England and the Construction Skills Board to give them that insight as to actual cardholders, as opposed to conceptually, we've got a demand for another 150,000 people we've got to upskill. Who is inactive that has been previously skilled and we could be reskilling?
Oh, that leads me to a question. I'd ask it now because I'll forget it before the end. Is there an opportunity then, looking at who's got what level of skill through their card, that you could then suggest something through their app that you can, if you thought about upskilling to this area, are you aware there's training for this?
Potentially.
Because I think that would be...
Yeah. So
if we're not very good as workers looking for stuff, we're better at receiving.
So in our last podcast, we talked about my CSCS and my skills. So another bit of functionality we put in there is some push notifications. So if you opt for that type of information, in the same way as if you opt within your bank or whatever, then that could be pushed if that's something that is of interest.
Brilliant idea. Couple of questions left on this episode. New functionalities on the horizon for Smart Check. What are they, and what should the industry be aware of coming up?
Yeah, so in getting all 37 CSCS card schemes, the CSCS Alliance, to agree to ensuring we had a single check process, Smart Check, we developed core functionality to make it work. Now we've had it deployed for about 18 months as an API, 3 years as an app. As I said earlier, we've gone from 50,000 reads a month through the app and web to 3.5-4 million reads a month through the API. So the API is where the commercials are using it, but it's giving us the core detail that the card's been checked. And in that, from the dialogue we've now been having with the core users, we can see that they're using it quite rightly for pre-induction, for induction, for re-induction, for site access, and potentially for some other reasons. So one of the developments we're now looking at is actually to put some reason codes in there. So we understand, of the 4 million reads last month, how many were pre-induction, i.e. preparing the workforce before they're on site, checking that they've got the skills for what they're being asked to be deployed on site, and not having them attend on site and then find they don't have the skills and turning them away. So part of our current ask to industry we're looking for a mixture of employers within tier 1 and tier 2, because they're the ones that get the primary benefit from the API. To come back to us, if they can email info@cscs.co.uk just to say they're interested in being part of a pilot. We want to talk to them about what those reason codes would look like within their data, so that we can understand that I've been on X site, because ultimately what we would want to be able to do is to say, well, that card's been checked. The record of that check ought to be then tagged back to the card holder, so they know, so they can then query to us, well, why have I got a record of being on Sizewell C, because it's Sizewell C checked? I've never been anywhere near Sizewell C, so how's that happen? That's not going to happen, but I've given that as an illustration, because that's my experience, and therefore I'm being checked. My card is being checked with for valid reasons.
Industry, you've been asked to get involved, and I think that's it's a big positive from my point of view.
Yeah.
Wanting to work with industry, info@cscs.co.uk. Let us know, let Sean and the rest of CSCS know you'd like to get involved and obviously help with this. Final question before your questions, the viewers' questions. Smart Check, how does it connect with the wider My CSCS app and the Digital Skills Passport? And what role is it going to be playing in creating a more joined-up approach to skills and safety across the sector?
So whilst we're looking to make initial adjustments to Smart Check around reason codes, one of the other things we're doing is looking at what other information should be able to be pulled to the employer, which would be that deeper information that would be available in My CSCS. Now, part of the conversation, My CSCS is only available at the moment through a handful of the CSCS card schemes. There are others with an equivalent, so we're trying to make sure that function is able to pull irrespective of card schemes. But that's part of the call to action that
Get
we're
involved.
having. Yeah.
info@cscs.co.uk. Now, viewers' questions. 1, 2, 3 again. This episode's. I think we've covered this one, but I said I read them out. So here we go. Are there any more major developments coming from CSCS soon?
As we just said, yes. The priority elements are all customer and employer focused. So through My CSCS, it's for the card holder.
Yeah.
The functionality that we're trying to add for Smart Check, particularly the Smart Check API, is very much for the employer end user.
Good question, this next one. I'm not very good at reading and writing, but am a good worker. What help can CSCS give me to pass the exams?
I think we might have covered it in at the end of the last one of the questions in the last episode. It's similar.
Yeah.
So we card. That's our purpose. We card to whatever the standards are that have been set by CRTB or others. So we don't provide direct support for the individual that needs additional learning support, but the training provider should, to help the individual be coached in order to, if they're skilled and competent, and that what they lack is the ability to write that down and convey it, then they may be able to do video evidence or speak to evidence, not have to write it down. So there's a whole host of stuff out there that helps your particular position. But what we do within CSCS, if you're doing that training as an apprentice, the apprentice card is free. So you don't have to pay for that apprentice card if you're doing an apprenticeship through CSCS. If you're doing other training, then you will be paying for the trainee card. But if they need more support and more information around a particular training, I recommend them contacting CITB as to the type of direct support.
Now, final question. I watched last week's episode and I've worked in residential all my life. How do I go about getting a CSCS card for myself and my workers? I guess this is going into people's homes. So I think the way I'm reading that is the residential sector, this is all news to them.
Yeah.
So do you say download the app straight away?
It's the same process as to whether you're working in the commercial sector. We would say use the application process within my CSS. Use the app, because the simplest thing is upload your certificate or tell you what card you're that would fit your particular skill set. But of course, that's because there are multiple skills, multiple schemes. Start with us. Go to our website to check that if you're an electrician, you should be going to ECS. If you're a plumber, you should be going to the JIB. If you're a brickier or chipper, you're coming to us. So land on our site if it's a different skill and it's a different a card issued by one of the other partners. We'll signpost you to the right place. But if you're in our disciplines, apply through the app, and we'll get you the cards for your teams.
Stand out from the competition when you go into people's houses, something we've all been crying out for years. So I'm really pleased to hear that. Sean, thank you. We've got 2 more episodes to complete the year-long partnership with CSCS. Join us again next time.